Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to another tag. I got a tag. This is one of those ancient tags that I finally am doing. I'm trying to catch up on these. I'm probably not going to do that well, but hey, we can try. This is actually the Eeveelutions Tag by Amarinske. I butchered that name, Mama. My bad. She's a huge fan of Pokemon. I've played it a bit. I played Pokemon Go to have something to talk with my nephews, and now they're into Fortnite, and I'm trying to get into that. Anything for my nephews, apparently. Anyways, 9 questions, but 9 questions that make you think a lot. Which is pretty typical for tags that she does. If you want really thought-provoking questions and tags and content, I think she has a fascinating channel. I don't know why she has so few followers. She's cool people. She shares great stuff. I'm really happy to call her friend too. So, question number 1. This is for Eevee. The basic form and normal type of Pokemon. What is a book with a lot of potential? Read unread, met not met. For me, a book that had a lot of potential and kind of came up short is the graphic novel Monstrous. Monstrous is... the potential is there. The story is kind of mixed and kind of convoluted, kind of complicated. Could be really cool, not sure. We'll read the second installment and see how that's flowing. But the first one, you had to really pay attention. It probably begs a couple of reads. The artwork is stunning, but I had a lot of problems with the story because, apart from it being a bit jumbled, the whole use of foul language when it's not necessary, and it takes away from the work. That was what I was facing when I read Monstrous. It's good. It's not, but it came up short, and in part for that, because this is like really. It's high fantasy and it has that Final Fantasy vibe, and then one of the characters drops F-bombs, and it just feels so out of place. And I'm no stranger to F-bombs, and I'm a proponent of the F-bombs, doing and using them. But everything in its right place. It just felt out of place, and I think the potential is there, but it came up slightly short. Question number 2, Jolteon, the electric type. A character that sparked off the page. I'm gonna be clever with this one. I'm gonna say Death, but Death in the Sandman, and Death in the Discworld series. The character in each of those works is phenomenal and beyond memorable, for different reasons, intensely different reasons, and it just goes to show the different ways that we see death, personified death. Both of those works are fantastic. I'm really fond. I'm going to mention them ad nauseum. I know. I don't care. I like the books. I will reread them and reread them and so on and so forth because they mean a lot to me and they're great for different reasons. But those two characters, as soon as I read them and I knew who they were, it was like, wow. And it was just a really interesting and fresh take on death. Question number 3, Flareon, the fire type. A book you dislike with a fiery passion. Hi. Wormwood by G.P. Taylor. It sucks. I've mentioned this before and I'll say it again. The thing is that I got recommended this book by so many on Borders, on Amazon, blah, blah, blah. And when I read that, it was just awful. Like, awful. Feels really forced. Feels really two-dimensional with that. Names are needlessly complicated. Storyline, unremarkable. Just... And when I finished it, it was a very underwhelming finish, I must admit. So, yeah, that one. Question number 4, Vaporeon, the water type. A book that made you cry or feel sad. Although I do try to avoid really sad reads, it happens. I will mention 3 works that have made me cry, recently or not so recently. I've mentioned before The Blood Sword. The Blood Sword is a title from Jade Man Comics, which is wuxia, Chinese hero kung fu comics from the 80s. It is one of the best storylines I've ever read, and I ugly cried my ass off. It just ugly cried at a comic. It's really heart wrenching. I've spoken about that death before. It's Sandglow. It's a very paternal, grandfatherly, super warm, kind character, whom you just got a feel for. And I mentioned that in the hopes that if I say it enough, the algorithms are going to go up and someone's going to say, hey, let's bring those back even more. The Chinese hero translations that are available now aren't as good as the original comics. If you can get the original comics, trust me, it's worth your dollar. Second series, Harry Potter. Harry Potter means the world to me, and probably I'm a writer, and I push my writing thanks to Joanne and the Wizarding World. Books 5 specifically. 5 was bad. 7 was the worst. I don't want to do spoilers because it's unfair. Some people have not read Harry Potter. I don't want to ruin it for them, although I might want to prepare them emotionally. There's a small sock-loving character who stole my heart, and that was brutal. If you've read it, you know who I'm talking about. And finally, a book that I cried in public while reading is 10 Yen True by Amanda Armstrong. It's a great book, great indie book. It just struck a real chord. There's a character of a young boy, and the ending is just really overwhelming. And it was very lovely. Question number 5. Umbreon, the dark type. A dark or scary book or character. Anything related to Lovecraft. Rats in the Dark, specifically. The Cthulhu mythos is pretty bad, but in the Mountains of Madness really shook me. There are so many short stories that really stick with me, and Lovecraft is the only author that has made me not necessarily have a nightmare, but have vivid dreams with his writing. It's number 6, Espeon, the Psychic Type, a book that twists or plays with your mind, 1984. I know it's a classic, I know people have read it, I know it's recommended, but damn, that book is good. And that entire book is a setup to the last sentence. If you flip to the end and read the last sentence, you are doing yourself such a disservice as a reader. But everything's a build-up, and that last sentence just guts you in such an awful way. But it's brilliant. Question number 7, the Leafeon, the grass type. Choose a book that made you feel calm and balanced. The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi is often recommended for business practices or some... in the 70s and 80s, they did a lot of weird business practices, like, apply this to your life, and who stole my cheese, and stuff like that. That was more 80s and 90s. But the Book of Five Rings has a lot of life lessons that really I've taken to heart, and I think they made a really positive impact in me. Question number 8. Glaceon, the Ice Type, a book that made you feel nothing. Left you cold as ice, paradise, and chopping broccoli. Bushido, Soul of Japan. It's interesting to learn about Bushido, but it's a really dull read. And it's a really long essay, and it took me a long time to read it. And I can't say it's like, oh, wow, my life is worse or better after reading it. No, it's like, well, I have some more information. That's about it. And question number 9, Sylveon, the Fairy Type. Magical friendship, great character interactions, or a book with magical writing. Specifically from the Sandman, there are 3 characters I want to mention. One is Delirium, which is one of the sisters of Dream. She's so crazy in such a fun way. And such a creative use of literature in a comic. Seriously. It's great stuff. Galding is a character that is recurring, and he shouldn't be recurring. He shouldn't have eternal life. But you should read the series. And finally, Fiddler's Green. It was just such a sweet twist that Neil did. It's brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. That series really, really, really steals my heart. So that's a tag, and I'm gonna try to keep this quick. I went over the 10-minute mark, but it is what it is. I shall try to trim it down. Tagging just 2 people. I know I've tagged Cammy before, but I think she's really gonna enjoy this one. So Cammy from Cammy's Corner, you're tagged. And Dane from Dane's Reads. Dane is a cool guy. He's got a really cool channel. He's got a couple of followers, but he deserves all the followers he gets. He's a really cool guy, and I like his channel a lot. So both of y'all, you're tagged. Ama, thank you for the tag. Until next time, peace, love, and my heroes.